Okay, welcome back to another episode of Lynn's Lessons here. All right, so what we're going to do is a reflection card. This is something that I've been doing over the past couple years now. Placing a piece of your silver foil, could be any kind of reflective foil, mirrored, preferable. And it could be something like gold or silver, okay? Silver tends to be, the most reflective of all. The gold tends to be a warmth, have a warmth to it. But what we're going to do is we're going to try this reflection concept with 3 different types of paper, okay? So any type of blue cardstock right here, that could be a nighttime type of scene. You can see that reflecting down in that lower area. See this little glow here from that silver reflecting the light back up in there? Kind of changing a little bit. And here is the wood grain, just a really dynamic, fun type of paper to stamp on like that. Look at that cool grain being mirrored down below. And just your standard cardstock here. This one happens to be glossy, but you can use matte, any type of thing, okay? But let's go with white on this one. Okay, so let's get stamping here and get right to it. Okay, now these different types of papers might require different types of inks, okay? This one right here, it tends to work a little bit better with something a little bit thicker, like a VersaFine Clair black would be good. It's a little bit thicker than a dye-based ink. This one right here, something a little bit heavier too, but you can re-ink a dye-based pad and just have a lot of ink on your stamp when you stamp on here. And I mean, that would be fine too. And then on your cardstocks, it pretty much takes any types of inks. But that being said, so if you do your stamping on these pieces, just find the right ink for it, and you can do a little test print in a corner and see how dark, your inks stamp out on here. And that's pretty much the, the main point of ink surface compatibility, as far as impressions go. Okay, so let's take a look at these right here, and let's get right into it. Okay, so on this one right here, I'd use the VersaFine Clair on a couple of these, but my pad's really dry, so there's not one type of ink that works on these types of things. Although, you could probably use StazOn, and I'm sure it would work on all of them. But let's see. On this one here, I'm just going to use a standard dye-based black ink. Okay, now here's the stamp right here. Now you're going to be doing it with a unmounted stamp. But right in this area right here, okay, that's the area right in here that I'm going to be targeting on the lower portion here. So we're only going to be stamping out about half of this. So it could be like that or like that. I mean, there's like a 1/2 inch leeway, okay? So if you stamp it out there and it's like, oh my God, I stamped it like 1/6 inch or something like that, that doesn't matter. But the thing is, I'm not going to stamp it up here, like in the middle of my page like that, because this area down below represents the water line. Like this is like a pond, okay, or a lake or something like that. So this is where the lake starts right here, right? This is water right here. So I don't need this whole portion right down here. Just kind of from here up, or you can go down a little bit, and have a little bit of that water showing if you want to. But let's see what it looks like here. Now, even though I'm only using, about half of this, from about the middle up, I am inking some of this area down here. I don't need to ink this edge or anything like that, but you want to ink up a little bit more than you think you're going to use, okay? Just so you don't kind of miss a spot. Like I'm inking right to there and I stamped it a little bit higher, so I got this big white spot, down below, okay? All right. So I'm just going to aim this roughly around the middle area of my card. You can stamp it off the side, one side or the other, whatever you want. I'm using my left hand here. Lynn, you're lefty. All right. Stamp it out like that. And remember, don't worry about, if you're doing your impressions yourself, don't worry about kind of impression quality. Oh my God, I missed a tree or something like that, okay? Just kind of get the concepts down right now. And when you get all the concepts down, I don't know, whatever, you can do your masterpieces, you know, afterwards or whatever, you know. But just kind of get the concepts down. So here's my trace right here. And we'll take a look at what this looks like right in there. Look at that cool kind of, you know, mirrored, reflected area. Now this up here looks boring because there's nothing up there. So I'll show you how to do those transitions of tone up there with some inks. Or if it's a matte paper, you can use some colored pencils or chalks or whatever you have. To put up there. You have a loon. You can even stamp your loon down here. If you stamp anything on this mirrored surface, use a StazOn ink, okay? That's going to stick on this surface right here. There's not a whole lot of options for stamping other types of inks that will dry and adhere to this type of surface, okay? Well, look how cool that is. All right. I think I'm going to go with my Brilliance here, but like I said, on either one of these, like a VersaFine Clear would work. I think the StazOn would probably work on either one of these too, but let's go with the pigment ink here, okay? But you can test it out, you know, go with whatever inks you happen to have, see if it prints out. If it doesn't, you know, it's just a piece of paper. No big deal. Okay. Let's go like this again. Now, this is printed paper, so we're printing over printer inks on here. So it doesn't, this is still porous, but it doesn't soak in quite as fast as like a, you know, like a bare cardstock, even though this one is, you know, glossy right here. All right, get that, get some good pressure going on there. Use your leverage. Strengthen those, arms, shoulders, you know, when you're stamping too, try to use, you know, whole body type of things. I'm using my, like, abs here, believe it or not. Not that it's a good ab workout, abdominal muscles I'm talking about, but get a little bit of that. You don't want to have everything just, you know, on the arms, wrists, things like that, okay? And if I didn't mention it, when I'm stamping these additional stamp impressions out to the side like that and carrying this image right here out to the sides, you want to overlap by about 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch, okay? All right, but let's take a look and see what this looks like, okay? Look how cool that is. Just your very natural look, right? Okay, now here's the thing that we're going to do on this next piece right here. So we utilized our white pigment ink, okay? Let's do that again here. And let's work on getting a little bit of, kind of a different element and texture into this paper right here. Because the reason why is this black right here, just stamped right over the top of this dark blue, there's not a lot of contrast between this black and this blue here. This blue is probably like a 90% blue in terms of darkness. I don't know, maybe 85. So we need to get a little bit of contrast on this paper before we stamp out our Lakeside Cove, okay? So, yeah, I happen to have this right here too. Let me throw a moon up here, I think, as well. That'll be kind of peering out from behind our trees. All right, so take some of this, 100% cotton ball. Get this moon going in here, like so. Now, if you can, kind of transition it a little bit. Get it a little bit heavier on one side, a little bit lighter. See how it's a little bit lighter down here? I think that looks a little bit better than just solid white. You know what I mean? You could even cut out a piece of paper and just tape it down there if you're going to do that. But this allows for a little bit of variation like that. If it gets look completely solid, don't sweat it though. Okay, now here's what I'm going to do with this. I'm going to start building up some tones in here. I'll do it from the bottom up, okay, like this. And what these will kind of represent, or this texture will represent, is well, you know, kind of like clouds or something like that, a fog, whatever. Now again, with this right here, kind of go for a little bit of variation. Don't worry about getting things ultra smooth or anything like that. When you start applying this, you're kind of applying, but you're also kind of removing too. Because as you build it up like that, if you keep rubbing on there, it might remove something that you just applied. But you know, it's all kind of part of the kind of application and blending process. As I'm doing this, you know, I'm kind of, you can also do the torn paper towel technique and, you know, build up some clouds or something like that. But let's just go with the, you know, kind of, I don't know, it's like smudging this piece right here. You can kind of dab a little bit too, and just, you know, if you want to get a little bit more of a buildup, you know, because this right here is kind of rubbing. It's applying, but then it starts, you know, if you keep going over, it just kind of removes too. So, I don't know, find your touch and technique. Okay, if you haven't done this before, you know, you kind of have to get a feel for it. And then if you don't do it for a while, like I haven't, you know, you have to kind of get a feel for it again. If you know, if that's happening though, you know what I mean? It's like, oh man, you know, I haven't done that for a while or something like that. So I kind of, you know, you lose your touch, you know, with certain types of techniques. I mean, that's kind of a good thing. That means that you've kind of, you know, you've moved on to other types of techniques, and you're, you know, you've been practicing other things, maybe something new, right? You know, it's always kind of fun to kind of expand and explore kind of your techniques, but relearning something's always kind of easier than just, you know, learning it for the first time. Usually, unless you have been, you know, like beginner's luck. Okay, let's take a look. Now, we're not just doing this right here, okay? We have it, you know, we have this kind of light reflecting off of this paper right here back up in there, but look at that. You can see my little smudgies down there, those like 4 little dots like that. But let's take a look and see that. Some cloudy mist like that. But I think that'll do it. Something quick and easy, you know. Again, it's not like super smooth or anything like that. See how smudgy it is, you know, from one side to the next. Here, you know, it's a little bit empty. You need to fill in there, you know, you can add more if you want to, or make it a little bit more illuminated like that, you know what I mean? If it isn't, you don't like it, you can smudge it out if you want to, okay? All right. Now this one here, I'm going with the Brilliance ink again, you know, a pigment ink. Just because it's a little bit thicker, and this is still wet. All right, it's not super wet to the touch or anything like that, but it's moist. So I'm going to stamp into it with a little bit more of a thicker ink, you know, for this video, because I think it will show up on here a little bit better. I hope I have enough ink on this pad. I could re-ink, but, you know, I don't feel like it. Okay, good, even pressure. I have a feeling it might stamp out a little bit light. I think my pad's a little bit dry. Okay, so get plenty of pressure in the center, if I didn't mention it. Sides, like that. Don't squash down the top too much, but get even pressure, okay? So then if you can get kind of sit, you know what I mean? sit up a little bit like this and lean into it if you can, okay? Use some leverage. It stamped out actually quite dark. Okay, I had more ink on this than I thought. Okay, and again, overlap that one. Yeah, about 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch or so. Okay, it's probably going in about like to here. Now, you know, try some different variations. You know, if I stamp this out onto a photo print or something like that. Let's do that right here. That's not going to take very much time. The photo print, though, is 4x6. Well, let's take a look at this right here. Isn't that cool? Like that. It's so awesome, I think. This would be a nice place for like a quote stamp or something like that. Or you can put in some additional stars up there or something like that. Okay, let's take a photo print here. Let's see. These are just some 4x6 photos that I took. Let's go with this one right here. This one has this little sun up here. What if I flip it around like that? It's upside down, but you know, having that sun kind of peering from, you know, between the trees might be kind of cool. Now my photo print here happens to be printed on some sort of, I don't know, like paper and then clear coated. Okay, it's not standard photo paper. If it was standard photo paper, what you want to use is just your standard dye-based ink on the photo print, okay? But shockingly, Shutterfly, I don't know, when you order prints, they're not using photo paper. You know, like when you used to order prints online or you're printing out on an inkjet printer at home. Allow the ink to dry if you're using your own inkjet printer, okay? But yeah, just standard water-based, you know, dye inks will work just fine. Okay, here comes my StazOn right here. And we'll go a little bit to the left of that sun. Okay, look at that, like that. Overlap. Now this is 4x6, you know, the cards that I'm doing. It's not going to match up perfectly with my, you know, card base, my folded card or my reflection, but this is just to show you what, you know, stamping on photos can look like, okay? Especially in the mirror reflection card format. All right, reflection card format. We have this right here. And take a look at that. Isn't that awesome? Now, like I said, this is going over, hanging over here, you know, because this isn't 4x6, but look how great that looks. And like I said, you could put your loon down here in the foreground or something like that if you want to. Yeah. All right. I love that look. Okay, but now let's do some additional touches with something like this. Okay, so again, this is cardstock. I mean, if it's matte cardstock, you can use colored pencil up there, something of that sort. But let's grab, you know, okay, I forgot Joni had in terms of some different colors or different types of inks. I need to go back and review that, but if you have some distress inks in blue or, you know, some really light tan tones or something like that, you can use them as a good card base right here. But I'm just going to go in here with, here's Bahama Blue. All right, it's a color that a lot of people have, and a lot of people have mementos. There's a lot of different dye basting brands out there, okay? Catherine Pooler, you know, Stampin' Up, whatever, okay? That's not going to matter. But let's just get in some touches up here. Touches of color, okay? So you can do this with a sponge or something like that too, whatever kind of ink applicator you have, okay? But I see this as kind of finger painting. And you can just kind of go in here and add some of this tone in here. Yeah, don't worry if it's like super smooth, you know, if you haven't done this type of thing before. But this is a pretty good technique right here. It's almost like I said, it's almost like finger painting, okay? And we want to get that, your dominant side really kind of tuned up over time, okay? And get you coming up with some really good transitions here. Okay, my ink is a little bit wet right here, so I'm smudgy right up here. Okay, so, I mean, I really should wait to do this, but let's just get some of this color down right here. So you can kind of get the gist of, you know, what this can look like here. Okay. See this right here? We're going with these transitions right here from darker to lighter like that. Okay. Okay, I need to be careful here because this is really smudgy. If it's matte cardstock, it's not getting real smudgy, okay? But it would be absorbing my ink that I'm applying here quite a bit faster. So just keep that in mind. You can heat set your inks if you want to, your impressions. Unless you stamped it out with stays on, that thing dries in like 10 seconds completely. And you can get some of this down into your rocks down here as well. Now, I'm not adding any kind of base layer colors, which would make this go much smoother. Or if you have, you know, like a, I don't know, like a re-inker here. Here, this is aqua right here. This is going to go really fast. It might get me kind of real smudgy, but yeah, if you have a re-inker and you apply it like that, this goes like so smoothly. Be careful though, you can have a lot of ink in your paper towel, okay? Let me see, let me smudge that down a little bit just to kind of distribute that moisture a little bit more. Okay, let's see. Kind of make it a little bit more wispy in some areas maybe. I like to go where, you know, they call it vignette, so you're going with a kind of a darker area on the perimeter like that, leaving it lighter in the middle, okay? But we'll show you something with the exercise of adding in additional pigment ink for lighting. It's that soft lighting kind of that we did with the previous lessons with the you know, the lighting on the sides of the trunk or at the base of the trunks that give it that kind of wispy, you know, kind of airy feel to it, misty, you know. Okay, so there we go like that. All right. Don't worry about it being like super smooth or anything like that, but leave some of the white right down here. Okay, now this might not be good here because if that ink is kind of wet there, it's, you know, I don't want to be smudging around like white pigment ink with black right here. With the blue, it doesn't matter too much, okay? But right in here, what we're going to do is see these background trees right here against that white. What we're going to do is we're going to take some of this pigment ink again, and we're going to apply it on some of those trees, okay? And I'll just kind of, you know, apply here and there. Leave some of it a little bit, Chris. See this one tree right here is a little bit darker. I mean, it doesn't have to be that tree, but just, you know, some tree in there, or trees. Just, you know, retain a little bit of that lighter area. So I'm applying this kind of in this lighter area. And then what I'm doing is I'm kind of working it out a little bit like that, okay? It's a little bit, you know, applied to some of those rocks down below too. If you don't like the look, you just kind of wipe it off, and or if you didn't get it down smoothly, just wipe it off and start over again, right on that same paper. But there we go with this kind of this really fun type of format right here. You can see right in here those kind of mistier. They look more distant too when you kind of fog them out. You know what I mean? You lighten them up like that, so that's what that kind of represents. In there, it represents distance, or it could, and you know, it's a textural difference too. So anyways, I mean, it looks better and better, you know, with the darker we go up here, there's more contrast to reflect down here, but this is just a really simple kind of exercise in, you know, kind of how to approach reflection cards, and going back to our ideas on lighting. And we don't have to really do too much shadow work. Like I said, you know, on these ones right here, a lot of times I'll kind of make it a little bit darker right in here. Okay, as I should really do some of that instead of just kind of talking about it in theory. Let me just take the same paper towel here. Let's do a comparison contrast here. And what we'll do is I'll add some of this darker tone on half of this, okay? All right, just like we did with our tree trunks, okay? We kind of toned in like half of them. So right here, what I've done is I've toned in some from the bottom up. So look how much darker this side is than this side, okay? So I kind of just tap down here like this, and let's go with a little bit of a vignette. So I darkened up right over here, but let's see what this darker side looks like, okay? See, doesn't it have a little bit more of that kind of substantial kind of mass and visual weight to it? Like that? This, I mean, it looks okay, but this side looks a little bit better to me, like that. So let's do it to the other side like this, okay? It doesn't take too long. See this right down here. I'm kind of going like just a little bit onto my page with my, you know, the same paper towel. I don't need to re-ink it again. That's like this. Tone it down at the base. I'm trying to keep, you know, a lot of those, the tops of those rocks, a little bit lighter, or lighter, like that. Okay. So see, I just kind of toned right down here. It's like a, I don't know. It's not even a 1/4 inch. It's like an 1/8 of an inch in there, or something like that at the base. There you have that. Oh, here we go. Now these, of course, are gonna, you know, you tape them into these formats here, and you can put a little quote up here. You can put to someone, you know, or something like that. Or you'd stamp a word stamp up there. You have that loon stamp. You can stamp a loon out here and say to, you know, someone, to the lady of the lake. All right, and then you open that up, and there, your recipient of your card will be treated with a nice kind of 3-dimensional looking, almost diorama of card like that. It just makes for a really dynamic opening. Let's do a little recap here. Let's take a look at the different ones. Everyone's saying, I like the photo one. Photo, it's hard to beat that with the photo stamping right there. And it certainly was fast. You can make this card you know, a couple, yeah, any of these things, you know, you can make them really, really fast, okay? Now we don't even have stuff stamped in the foreground light here, but this is the concept of it, okay? All right. There, right there. Same kind of misty thing. You're saying, well, what do you mean misty thing, you know? Same thing that we did down here, but we're just doing it against a, you know, a dark piece of paper, so that white really stands out like that, okay? And that moon's pretty fun, and reflection cards like that. All right, fun stuff. You got a lot of options there. Go and raid your wife's paper cabinet. Or a lot of people have those blocks of different colors of paper. So try a bunch of them. You know, a lot of papers will be kind of darker, and do a bunch of night ones. Do one with a green sky or something like that. Or put little stars up here, you know, for you know, nighttime sky, something like that. Starry night, you know, starlit sky, I should say. This one's a night sky right here. But there's all kinds of different things you can do. If you have a gradient type of thing with, you know, reds and oranges or something like that, you can have it transitioning down here in a like a sunset type of scene. In those type, in warmer scenes, I like using gold a little bit more, but you know, the silver is mirrored and it'll have all those different colors. You know, the gold just gives it a little bit of extra warmth. The gold would be a good pairing with this one too, like this, you know, so it gives it a little bit more of a warmth like that. This gold reflects up in there, giving it a little bit of warmth. So anyways, you got all kinds of options here, but get cracking on those. All right. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, drop me a note in the comment section.